Thank you, Chris and Skip. It's an honor and pleasure to be asked to be told my story. There's a saying, God never gives you more than you can handle. Well, trust me on this one, I think God got me confused with somebody else. So in order to make it up to me, he took me from San Diego and placed me in a little town called Cranston, Rhode Island, where I would be surrounded by the love and support of people that I had just met 3 years ago. I had no idea in the world when I arrived here what was about to happen. Often we think of culture, we associate it with money. What I found in the past 6 months is all the money in the world could not have bought the culture, the love, and support that I have received from my market center. As my OP Carl Kutu has said many times, it is short of remarkable for what they have done for you. I just want to take you on a brief history. It was December 2nd, 1975. I was 18 years old. So yes, you can do the math. I'm 58. I would have been with my husband 40 years this year, and coming up at the end of this month is going to be another first. August 27th will be our wedding anniversary. But somehow I know that the girls already have something planned for me, and I'm not going to be alone on that day. In 2006, I came to Keller Williams. I joined a market center in West Hartford, and that was about to change my life. I soon started traveling all around the country. I went as far as Atlanta and out to California. Before I went to California, I met Carl. We started talking, and I hoped that there had been an opportunity that would soon come. It's almost 3 years, Carl, that he made that phone call to me the day I had signed my contract in San Diego, but I had not turned it in. And he said, we'd like you to come here. So I did, and from the moment I arrived, I knew the culture was something that I had really never experienced anywhere else. I remember being at the Christmas party and going up to Carl and saying, these guys are amazing. So, fast forward to this past Thanksgiving. My husband and I were getting ready to go away. It was our first holiday in 40 years where we were going to be alone. I noticed that his legs were swollen. I knew he couldn't get on a plane. So I promised him it was going to be a short ride to the ER. He'd be in and out with no problem. That ended up being 18 days later on the first day. My husband suffered from a disease called alcoholism, and his liver was shutting down, which was causing the swelling in his legs, and everything else started to disintegrate. So we found out that there was a good chance that he could become a donor for a liver. So he detoxed in the hospital. He decided to get into a program because I sent one of my agents up who was in a program and basically said, you're doing this for your wife. And he introduced him to a great outpatient program. When he was in the outpatient program, he had to go to AA meetings. I was like, where's he gonna go to AA meetings? And then out of the blue, another agent from my office stepped up and said, I'll take him. So he came over, and we had dinner, and I introduced Mike to him, and they became friends. And he drove Mike to the AA meetings. But now it's like, okay, God, where do we find a liver? I mean, I believe in what you focus on expands, but I have to tell you, this one was gonna be a big one. And out of the blue, an agent on my ALC walked into my office and said to me, I'm sober. I've been sober for 6 years, and I read about a living donor program. And I want to be tested to see if I'm a right fit, a match for Mike. Imagine having an agent walk in that you hardly even know, that's only been with your office for a year, and wanting to donate part of your liver. I didn't even know how I was going to go home and tell Mike, I love you. That was the greatest gift you could have ever wanted to do. So, things were going a little bit better. Mike was sober, going to meetings, and he was going to be on a transplant list. We had our first Christmas together that we had ever been alone. Little did I know it was going to be our last Christmas.
and it was a beautiful, beautiful day. The Saturday after Christmas, Mike was excited that he felt well enough to do his radio show. My husband was in radio for 40 years, and thanks to technology, he could do it from home. So that day he did his last breakfast with the Beatles. A few hours later, he wasn't feeling well. He called me in, and he was bleeding out. I did not know what to do. I called 911, and I said, oh my God, who am I gonna call? One of my agents again came to mind. I knew that she had a good head on her shoulders. She would keep me calm. And she showed up wobbling in with a sprained ankle, and I swear to God, they thought she was there for treatment. Plus, I knew that she had a fabulous sense of humor, and she would be able to make my husband laugh because he totally loved her. Little did I know that my husband's blind surgeon would be the butt of her jokes for the next. It keeps going on. Mike went into intensive care that night. In the middle of the night, he bled 500 cc's of blood. Again, I didn't know what was going to happen. At 7 a.m., I texted Carl's wife, Mary. I said, I don't remember if I called or if I texted. I said, don't brush your teeth, don't brush your hair, just get here. And she was. And before she got there, I think she sent an email to everyone. And within an hour, people started showing up at the hospital. At one point, the intensive care family room was filled with so many of my agents, there was no room for anybody else in intensive care. And they just kept coming. That week was New Year's. I had a friend of mine from Florida with me, and we're standing in the room on New Year's Eve. It's 7 o'clock, and I'm thinking everybody's out. Mike's in a coma. He doesn't know what's going on. I don't know whether he's going to live. And all of a sudden, in walks my OP, Mary, and one of our other owners to wish me and Mike a Happy New Year and to try and wake him up. These are just small examples of everything that's gone on. Mike stayed in the hospital for 30 more days. We went through a lot of rehab. They didn't know if he had had a stroke. While he was in the hospital, we needed to have paperwork done. Who shows up? Our attorney, our partner in our office, Melissa Delana. She's part of our MSA, and she said, I will just come to the hospital and I will do all the paperwork for you. And of course, she still hasn't given me a bill for it. These are just small examples of what I can say to you. It's not about money. It's about people giving of time. Mike came home, things looked good. He was home for 48 hours, and his kidney shut down. Back into the hospital we went, and back into the hospital, everybody kept showing up. They would even call the nurses station and tell them they were my sister to try and get in. There were so many people I couldn't even go out to see them. And guess what? There was a blizzard coming. And what was I going to do next? I had to get my aunt here. I didn't know how that was going to happen. She got on a train. And of course, one of my agents went to the train station, found my aunt who they didn't know, drove her to the hospital, and brought her up. January 27th, the blizzard was arriving. I had to pack up my house, my dog, and move out. I wanted to be closer to the hospital, so I went to a hotel. And of course, one of my agents was there with me, taking care of the dog. So many people stepped in while I was away. Brianna, my MCA, Michelle, our front desk person, they worked extra hard. They stood in for me, and they still support me every day. On January 20th, I walked into Bold. I walked into Bold, a married woman, excited, focusing that my life would change. I didn't know at the end of Bold I would walk out a widow. And some of you in this room were in that Bold. And you came up to me, and you smiled, and you checked on me. January 27th, Mike passed away. The blizzard started. Pity the poor cop that would pull me over and tell me I shouldn't be driving on the roads after my husband passed at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I was surrounded by love, text messages, and everything else that you can imagine. I'm in the hotel. My aunt's trying to get me to eat. I didn't want to go to a restaurant. I had been crying all day. Food was the last thing on my mind, but you know how family is.
you gotta eat. I wasn't eating. Her power of attraction is much stronger than I recognized because there was a knock on the door. And all of a sudden, 2 servers walked in with trays of food. Thank God they bought the wine. Sorry, Mo. Sometimes you have to drink. But again, one of my agents had texted me to make sure I was okay. And where are you, Peg? Was the text. Of course, I fell right into it and told him I was at the Radisson Hotel. So we ordered almost everything on the menu, and it was brought in to make sure that I had food and I was being taken care of. I never would have been able to have done this alone. My whole past 6 months, the only way I get out of bed is because of my KW family. It's not just in my office. January 27th was a Tuesday. February 6th was going to be our next step of Bold. There was no way in hell that I was getting up and going to Bold. Jen Bovey, she showed up in the freezing cold, said, "You're going, and I'm driving you." And she had hot coffee for me, and she made me a loaf of bread that was her grandmother's recipe. And thank you, Jen, for continuing to pick me up to go to Bold, because I think I'd still be in that bed. I'm not kidding you. And I will always remember how kind you were to do that for me. I've gotten text messages throughout the night. I have people checking on me on a regular basis. And I thought things were turning around. Well, they say they come in 3s. I was told that my dog had cancer, and of course one of my agents was there with me. When I found out she had cancer, I also found out that my 101-year-old grandmother had to be put into hospice. I didn't know what to do, and Steve said, "I'll take care of Lily." And he brought her to his home, and he took care of Lily while I went. And on 4th of July weekend, I buried my grandmother. That Wednesday, I put my dog down. Again, my agents showed up. They've been with me continuously, nonstop. So what I really wanted to say to you is that, you see, culture isn't about money. It's about the time people can give. I just don't know how to express my love and gratitude to my KW office, my family, and to this company. Because in closing, I want to say just 2 quick things. Have those hard conversations with the people that you love, so you know what their decisions are, and you really will make all the right ones and do it with love. And just also to say to you that the culture in KW is alive and well in every single one of you, and that's what makes us such a fabulous company and family to be a part of. Thank you for letting me share my story.